Hello, everybody. Thanks for being on. We'll get started here in a minute or two. I apologize for my voice. It's head cold, so not COVID. Don't worry. Um, but we'll get started here in just a bit.
We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. It's 4:01 right now. We have some very important information to go over, some very important topics to discuss. So we're going to ask you to minimize all distractions. Also, make sure that your microphone is muted. If you have any simple questions, ask that you utilize the chat box, and one of your members from the board of directors will answer your questions. It's 4:02. Diana, meeting started.
You're muted.
Thank you. All right, guys. Good afternoon. I appreciate everybody joining. I'll talk as loud as I can, and hopefully everybody can hear me. But we'll get going. A lot of things to cover, and hopefully we can get done on schedule. And Chris will make sure we're on schedule. First things first, I'd like to go ahead and there's a group of people that I've been contemplating for a while and thinking about in regards to setting up our ethics committee. I just really wanted to take my time and making sure we had the right people in this committee. And I'm happy to say that the 4 people I asked to be on it all accepted. And our ethics committee, if Aaron, if you could switch to the next slide. And first off, everybody, thank you, Aaron, for handling the presentation portion of this. But our ethics committee, our chair is Jose Rios. He's a committee chair. Howard Brown is a committee member. Martha Breimer is a committee member. And then Matt Robinson will be our alternate member. So I feel very good about this group of individuals. I think they have contributed to our chapter in different ways and are wanting to contribute more. So I want to thank each of them for agreeing to be a part of this committee. We will be meeting, next week to go over some things, just to make sure everything's in place. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the ethics committee? Okay, I don't see any. And again, Jose, Howard, Martha, Matt, thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. I know Matt's not on. He's has an excused absence. Moving on, we'll go ahead and go through the officer reports. Jean, if you want to go ahead and give the secretary report, please.
Okay, real quick, just give you some numbers. Current paid THSBOA is 270. Paid SABOA is 241. And we got roughly around 221 that paid both. Just a reminder, just to give you some information based upon this time last year, we're about 150 members less that paid both compared to last year at this time. Division reps, if you're not getting your information from your division reps monthly from the board meeting, please contact your division rep. And if you can't get any satisfaction there, please contact me, because they should be getting information from all of our board meetings directly to the members. And also you can go to their our new website and receive the new minutes also and financials. And that's all I have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jean. Does anybody have any questions for Jean? If you do, please put them in the chat. Good point, Rebecca. Also, let's just to make sure that you are not getting emails into your spam, mark the emails from your division reps as safe. That way you're sure to get the information that's being sent out to you. Matt, your question, how do we find out what division we are? Email Gene Straley. He's on Arbiter and he can help you with that. To pay your dues, you can go to the Arbiter site. I also sent out an email this last week when I sent out the registration email that had that link to pay your dues, but you can also go to the main dashboard on Arbiter. And if you have any questions with that, you can email Marvin Cobb. Tony Schaefer's asking if we have an idea why the numbers are down. Yes, it's a mix of COVID safety, people not wanting to officiate due to COVID, and the other is for medical reasons. And the other is some people have just decided not to officiate, retire, and a couple have decided to go to South Texas. George, right now the divisions are set up the way they have been by points. We haven't really been, there hasn't been a great job of that stuff being kept track of. So what we're doing is looking at revamping that next year by the beginning of the next season. Excuse me. So, but for right now, everybody who's been in their divisions, if you have issue with the division you're in, please email Gene.
Hey, Dinah, can I recommend that maybe you don't answer all the questions? Let us try to answer some so it can save your voice
That
a
would
little
be
bit.
great. Gene, if you want to answer any other questions that come up, that'd be great. Or if you want to add to anything.
I'm just putting it in chat to everyone. Any questions appropriate? So we
Okay,
can just keep the meeting, keep going.
great, thank you. Okay, treasurer's report, Rebecca.
Hi all. Everything is up on the website, so you can view the treasurer's report in full. The first few pages are just their bank reconciliation summary. We have about $8,000 currently in our checking account and about $21,000 in our savings account. In September, we received dues from 72 members, and the only charges we had for the month were the bank fee of $5. That is something that's on our account that Frost Bank requires even for nonprofits. That's pretty much it. Nothing really to report because we didn't have a whole lot of activity in September. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Any questions for Rebecca? If you want to type them in and she'll respond. Okay, no questions? All right, we'll move right along then. Assignments, Marvin Cobb. Oh, wait, hold on a second. Oh, no, go ahead. Assignments, Marvin Cobb.
All right. I was muted. I have a question for Rebecca.
Go ahead, Marvin.
Curtis Foose, were we able to refund him his chapter dues?
I thought the email stated he wanted to use it for the following year. Was that incorrect?
No, that's incorrect.
Then I have not yet done so, but I can issue a check.
Okay, please do so. That guy's an old man. He may not be able to work next year or any year after.
Marvin.
Okay.
Okay.
Right, good. Hello, everyone. For everybody that's on the meeting here, I'm glad you could join us. A few things that I just want to put out there. I've started the assignment process, specifically scrimmaging. So it's time to start looking at your emails and looking for game assignments coming in. In saying that, we need everyone to get in there and start working on their block dates on Arbiter. Block the times and full dates you can't work, so we can work around that, because we're going to need that done very heavily unless we get about 100 more people to pay their dues. If you don't have a picture on Arbiter, I need a picture on Arbiter. You need a very professional picture. Shirt and tie would be preferable, but something very nice. If you're having trouble loading it, send it to me, because I see some that are loaded sideways. There's a couple upside down. So send me those pictures and I'll get that fixed for you. As the assignments start coming in, we're asking everybody to accept or decline the games ASAP, or make a phone call. I know we put about a week out there for you to accept decline games, and then at the week's end, I'm getting declines because you didn't take time to accept or decline yourself. You just let the system run it out and it kicked you out of those games. So please be courteous, accept or decline, or make a phone call. Game assignment fees, like Diana said, you can get that taken care of on Arbiter by going to the main page, clicking on the PayPal link to take care of that. Many of us still haven't paid last year's game assignment fees. And I'm working with Chuck, and I'm gonna send out invoices from PayPal to get that done. We don't have the ability to meet. Some of you don't want to sit down and write a check and mail it. So I'll stick it on PayPal for old fees, and you can use your credit card to pay. Rules test. We all need to take the rules test. There's 3 of them. Rules test, 3-man mechanics, 2-man mechanics, 20 questions on each test. It don't take very long to complete the test. Remember, got to score 90 or higher to do playoff stuff. Diana put that in one of her emails to everybody for that purpose. So that's the basic stuff I need to cover. Anyone have any questions of me?
Marvin, someone in the chat asked if you use Cash App or any other options besides PayPal.
I have Square. What else do I have? And I have the Cash App. So we can use those 2 along with PayPal. Would that do it?
Joaquin had a question. Our assignments sent out every week or 2 weeks ahead of a game.
We're going to keep it at 2 weeks at a minimum, but if we can do as good as we did last year, you can get it anywhere from three weeks out to sometimes a month out, and it all depends until we get to the second round of district play, where we're assigning based off a lot of parameters, and it'll be down to at least 2 weeks out.
Rule books. If people have still not picked up their rule books from the dates that we had people out, we probably could set up another time, one more, to have rule books where people can come by and get those. So we'll look at, I know Felipe asked. So Felipe, we'll look at that. Let me get with the executive committee on it, and we'll figure out another date soon where people can pick up rule books. We are going to be, and I'll talk about this in a minute, having a spot to pick up masks. So we'll have rule books at the same time.
And I have those cards, Diana.
Oh yeah, Kenny, you want to mention just for people who might not know?
So to gain entry into some of the facilities, if you're not working and you want to watch a game, probably this is not the the year that we're going to be going around to a lot of sites. But if you do, we have cards that gain you entry. There's some sites that don't accept our entry, that card. So if they do not, don't try to force your way in there. Just say thank you and just leave or pay to get in. And so when Diana, myself, and Gene and Marvin get together, we'll split up everything and meet on different parts of town to give those out as well.
Rule books, tomorrow night and Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, I'm at Alamo Heights Little League. Anybody wants to stop by and pick up books at 6, I'll be there both those nights.
Great, thanks, Marvin. Any other questions for Marvin?
Rule books must be paid and active members, correct? It's not just for anybody?
Correct.
All right, thank you, Marvin. Okay, next up, we're gonna talk about, a lot of people have been asking about COVID safety. I'm gonna ask Marvin and Kenny to chime in here too, just because we've had some discussions, us three a lot. I'll kind of kick things off. So first off, we've talked to a lot, Marvin and I have talked to a lot of coaches. We've been talking to a lot of coaches, just getting feedback from them, but also making sure we find out what their site-specific COVID policies are. And so they're varied. There's some different things for different school districts. So we're going to put together a sheet that we'll distribute out before the season starts. So this next week, essentially, I'm putting all that material together. That will kind of tell you what to expect from different sites. It's general things like if you're going to an SAISD high school, there's going to be no fans and no dressing rooms. Okay. If you're going to do a SAISD game at ACC, there'll be dressing rooms, there'll be some fans. But that's really the only location that'll have fans for SAISD schools. It's things like that. So we'll get specific about that for everybody, put it on a sheet for you so you know what to expect where you go. I ask that everybody recognize that communication is always important, but it's extra important this year because of what's going on. And so you really need to make sure if you could pregame with your officials on phone before a game, that'd be good. If you can't, then kind of social distance a little bit and do what you can to be safe. We are providing all officials with masks. Has our logo on it. It's black, adjustable for everybody's different size heads. And we'll be emailing out what dates and locations you can come pick these up at. So we'll get that information out. We're asking the following, just general things. 1, you wear your mask on to the court. You can keep your mask on or take it off while you officiate. If you approach a player, if you approach a coach, if you approach the table, you're to put your mask on. Okay? That is something that schools are pretty adamant about too. So you need to make sure that we're doing that. Okay? You also make sure you wash your hands. A lot of schools will be providing sanitizer. Make sure you're using that. All fans at pretty much every school will be required to wear masks. A lot of schools are not going to have concession stands because people will just take their mask off and leave them off. So they're just deciding not to have concessions. The biggest thing we're going to ask of everyone, we're not to police the fans. You see issues with the fans, you let the schools handle it. That's not our job. Okay? So don't get caught up worrying about that stuff. Gators. We're asking and we prefer that officials wear the mask that we're providing. If you want to wear a gator, we're not going to say you can't, but it must be solid black. And that's it. No white, no tan, black gator, SABOA mask that's black with our logo. Okay? Thank you, Becca. I'm gonna kind of go through this, and then Kenny and Marvin, I'm gonna ask you to help me with these questions. So we have limited attendance. One of the things I want to encourage everybody, obviously we're not going to mandate it, is go get your flu shot if you can. Okay. Just with everything going on, it's just highly recommended. Again, it's not a mandate. We're just recommending that you go get a flu shot. I know I'm going to get one myself. So that's up to you, but it's highly recommended. The biggest thing is, again, you don't have to wear your mask while you're officiating, but when you're walking on and off the court and approaching people, wear it. The ball will be sanitized throughout the game. Schools will be taking care of that. Okay. Some schools may do it during timeouts, some at quarters. It kind of just depends. So we're going to just kind of play it by ear and see how we go. Okay. But again, we're going to put all these things in writing for everybody. Kenny, do you want to start, or Marvin, or actually, Kenny, can you start with the questions, starting with James Gray?
Where is it? I don't.
It's required or optional. Oh, I mentioned that one.
Yeah.
I can help too, Dee.
Okay, masks are required on the court. I mean, walking to and off and to players, as I mentioned. Kenny, you want to go on, elaborate on that?
Yeah, and so what the UIL is encouraging us is, like Diana just mentioned, have it in your pocket, use it when you're approaching tables and coaches, and when you leave the court at halftime and at the end of the game. Is there any other question? I thought Diana was pretty clear on that one. Any other questions?
Someone asked if if you can wear it while officiating, and I believe she answered. You have
yes,
the
she
option.
did answer that. Correct.
You have the option to. Some people are saying, Kenny, and maybe you can address this, that North Side is not allowing Gators, so then officials must have their mask then. Is that correct?
I've not heard that, and I watched a football game last night, and the officials had Gators on. So I've not heard that, but we can definitely check into that.
And
either way, suggestion would be to have your mask with you.
Coaches cannot wear gaiters. Diane and I talked to the coach, ADs, coach some of the coaches, and they're not letting them wear gaiters.
But that's not a requirement for us. Is that correct, Marvin?
I don't know what y'all decided.
No, it's up to us, the Gators.
Okay.
Yes, and excuse me. Marvin and I are actually meeting with all the NISD coaches Tuesday morning. So we'll get confirmation on that. Any ISD had talked about letting their players use Gators, but that is not the case anymore. My understanding is they're going to mask now.
We have a question that says, I have my own black mask to referee in. Is that okay instead of the SABOA mask?
As long as it's solid black, that's fine. We would ask that people try to use our SABOA. We're providing you one free, and then you can buy another one for $5, just to look uniform. We're not going to mandate it, but if you are going to wear your own mask, feel comfortable in some other mask, that's fine, but it does need to be solid black.
Can I jump in real quick, Diana? The question keeps coming up with the Northside District. I believe Kenny's going to check into that for us. I know everybody's requiring masks, no Gators, no Gators. Kenny's going to get a definite question from the North Side. Is that correct, Kenny?
Or Diana's going to meet, and Marvin's going to meet with them this week.
My understanding is Gators are acceptable outdoors, but not indoors.
Correct.
That is what at NISD. So if you're seeing Gators in football games, because it's outside, but basketball's indoor, so they're going to require masks.
We have a question. Are black plastic gloves allowed for officials to wear?
That has not been a discussion. I don't see an issue with it. We'll get verification and let you know if it's not, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that's fine.
We have a question. What will are the players wearing masks during the game or just wearing them as we would?
They're wearing them as we would, but they have been told that if they're approaching officials with a question, that they are to put them on.
Are officials allowed to wear safety glasses?
I mean, if they're just like glasses, like sports glasses, I don't see a problem with that. Sal, let me see. Can you type what it is you're wanting to say? We just want to stay on schedule. That's the reason we have it this way. James Gray, yes, most schools are going to use spray and dry them so that they're not wet on the balls.
And I believe we're going to have to go to the floor without our jackets. They're not going to allow us to put jackets on the table.
Correct. Yes, volleyball officials have been required to wear a mask, but we've confirmed with UIL, with THSBOA, with ADs, they're perfectly fine with us not wearing masks when we're running. PJ, that's something we could look at. Hadn't really thought about it.
Diana, there was a question about dual members and receiving an SABOA mask. Will dual members be receiving one of those masks?
If they paid our local dues and state dues, yes. Yes, Bill, there are some ISDs that are providing temperature checks. It's not all of them, but it's some. It's just varied. And of course, that's something we can't mandate. Let's see.
So Tony will probably be ended up leaving them at the table, our things, or they will provide us a place to put our things to keep it safe.
Correct. Can you look at that question? Answer that question, Kenny, from James Young.
They're going so fast. Let's see. Okay, there's no mandate yet for any pre-screening that we know of.
No. He's asking about if we'll be informed when a fellow official gets infected.
Oh, well, we can't, what we're asking each other is to let Marvin and Diana know so that and your crew that you worked with, if that happens, so we can but we can't mandate that people disclose their medical information.
If people do disclose their medical information, we'll just probably tell you that someone near you has been exposed, but not tell you who they are. Gene, I'm not 100% on the question you're asking.
I'm assuming it's for pregame and such, like where we are going to meet for pregame, how we're going to have pregames.
If you have at the big places and where there's dressing rooms, you would probably pregame as normal. If you're not given a room, you'll probably just have to find a hallway. Unfortunately, we're just gonna try to have to play by ear and find a space.
There was
Guys,
also discussion about calling people in advance on the way to the game, pre-gaming over the phone.
Yes.
Pre-gaming over the phone.
Guys, remember, we're going to have to make a lot of adjustments. And so if you have an idea, or if you're doing another sport that really works, just kind of email your rep or Diana or Marvin. And then maybe if we think that's a good idea, we can pass it on, and use it. THSBOA is going to be coming up with a facts, kind of fact question answer sheet here shortly. I think it's probably about another week away before we get that. And then I will get that out to everyone.
With these new restrictions, Marvin, it is okay to come dressed, correct? Even if we are provided a dressing room, people are still allowed to come dressed. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's the major sites, SAISD, Northside, the big gym, dressing rooms are still going to be available for official use. And some of the, like going over to McCullum and having to go to coach's office, it might be a little difficult. So we need to be prepared for that and get ready, shut up, and get ready to just go dressed, minus your shoes. And so get there and put your shoes on. If you're not using a dressing room, your little clothing bag can go on the floor behind the scores tables or somewhere in that general area where you can leave that. I recommend you leave all your valuables and everything in your car, or just don't take them with you. Just have an ID card and a few bucks cash to the game site. So like Kenny said, this is going to be new to all of us. So if anybody comes up with a good idea on what you did, pass it on and we'll pass it to all the officials.
Also, when it comes to this, if you're feeling sick, or if you feel like you've been in contact, don't feel like you have to call that game. Call Marvin, and that's for the rest of us. We need to have a go bag. Have a go bag. That way, if we're leaving a game and need to be called to another game, or someone, we have to be, we may not be working, and there may be a game that comes up because of this. We have to help our assigners have people available, because I do think that we're going to run into that problem, and we may end up games where we end up working 2-man or 1-man if you're in the JV game, a middle school game if we have middle school games. But just please, everyone, every day you leave your house, have a bag ready to go.
George, yes, I understand the frustration that the schools are all very different. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. And also coaches are being required to wear their mask at all times so that everybody's aware of that. Soupy, we did cover that earlier. We have about 241 that have paid local dues, and 270 that have paid state dues, and 221 that have paid both. And yes, we will have officials probably working more games. We're about 150 short.
And for those that like to work a lot, you ought to be happy.
As Kenny said, I would keep your bag in your car. Oh, everybody's putting dollar signs up, Marvin.
You might want to keep 2 bags and put on a fresh shirt at the other gym.
Any other questions? I know, guys, I know that it's frustrating. I know that it's not exact. There's some of us who just like exact and let's get this and we're good and it's done. But because we deal with so many school districts, it's different. We've got to have patience. We got to have flexibility. And we've just got to hang in there. We're having to deal with it this way. Coaches are having their own issues. Players are having their own issues. It's an adjustment for all of us. And so we just got to try to make it work the best we can. As soon as we get information out, we're going to try to pump it out to you guys as soon as possible. And if we have to do it every few days, we will. But we'll get everything in writing to you guys. I'm already working on that document, and we'll get that out. I like that, Chris. Be agile. Yes. Let's just be flexible, be patient with one another, and communicate. I cannot emphasize how important communication is going to be this season, more than ever. Okay. All right, guys. We're going to move along. Kenny is going to give us a presentation on sexual harassment. And so we can get everybody's, you know, attention. We greatly appreciate that. Kenny, the floor's yours. You're muted, Kenny. Kenny, you're muted.
Oh, I got you. I'm sorry. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about. Unfortunately, we have to discuss this because we've had some instances in our chapter where sexual harassment has been a problem. So if you'll take a look at our bylaws, well, it addresses there too. But we'll just talk a little bit. I won't read all the slides, but I'll just highlight what I think is important. And then if you guys have any questions, you can ask. Next slide. So we're just going to talk a little bit about harassment, what it is, the difference between being harassed and someone just being courteous and being nice, some of the consequences, and how I think the most important piece of this is how a bystander can impact our relationships with each other, and then some things we can do for prevention. Next slide. So here's the definition of harassment, right? Unwelcome, inappropriate sexual comments or physical advances, right? The legal definition: unwelcome sexual advances, requests, or sexual favors and other verbal physical contact of a sexual nature that tends to create a hostile, offensive work environment, right? Sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination that occurs in the workplace. Next slide. So some of the things that we want to look for, right? Arbiter 1 is not a dating site, right? You don't swipe right and get a date. So some of the things that we want people to look for is inappropriate behavior, such as, and this happens all the time. And we're a fraternity, sorority, we're a brotherhood and sisterhood of officials. And sometimes I don't know who someone else knows or who, I don't know their history and what they might take offense to. So if we keep everything professional, we can keep ourselves out of a lot of trouble, right? So just try to be as professional as you can when interacting with officials. Keep, if you have to think about what would happen if I told this joke, or should I tell this joke? Probably should hold on to that joke, right? Test it out with Marvin. Sexual, any phone calls, right? Like I said, we don't use Arbiter to find out someone's number and give them a phone call. So please, if any officials have someone calling them, asking them out for a date, please let us know so we can address that official. It will, it will impact us. I promise you, as a chapter, if someone feels uncomfortable, right? Because it just permeates the entire system. All right, next. So that also means don't send people, don't send each other, videos that are inappropriate, right? If someone, oftentimes this happens with our new officials where they may feel uncomfortable. Someone may have said something. So let's try to make sure that our more senior referees be aware of what you are saying, what you're doing, your body language, all those things speak to people in this, especially if they don't know you, right? So we want to make sure that we stay professional at all times. Next slide. So to me, the most important piece is the other officials, right? Our co-officials, being aware of things that might make people uncomfortable, speaking out when you hear something that's inappropriate. Maybe pulling that person to the side and letting them know, hey man, that comment was inappropriate. That goes both ways, male, female. In that picture there, she just told him an inappropriate joke and he's looking at her like, I can't believe you just said that, right? So let's make sure that we're not that guy or that gal, right? So if you see this happening, it really is incumbent upon you as a member of our chapter to speak out. And if you're uncomfortable, then tell one of us, and then we will address it with that member. And maybe, you don't know, maybe we got other concerns about that person, and then we can address it with 2 or 3 concerns, and that should hopefully take care of the problem. Next slide. So it's okay to compliment someone. Man, maybe they got Becca had some nice shoes last year. So we said, we were laughing. It was, hey, nice shoes, right? We don't have to, we don't have to be so professional that we're rigid, right? So if you see something that you like and they're a hairdo, but please, let's stay away from body parts and, things like that about people, because we don't know how someone else might take it. We don't know what someone else's history is, right? So let's just be conscious and be courteous, doing the things that, that we do as an organization, like going out to dinner and lunch and having a good time with each other and sharing, stories and having good times. And I guarantee, like I said, sexual harassment and assault, it will degrade your organization from the inside out. All right, so let's just be aware of that and let's be safe. Next slide. I think that was the last one. Any questions? I saw a lot of chatter.
The questions on the chat were regarding other options, so we'll hold on those until you finish your presentation.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm done. If there's not, what you got for me, Becca? Didn't like my shoe comment?
Well, we all know those shoes were amazing, so I'm fine with it.
Okay.
The questions were regarding masks and national anthem, so we will circle back as soon as we open the floor for questions regarding the important presentation you just gave.
Yeah, and I see Rick made a great comment, and sexual harassment is also interpreted by the recipient. And so that's why I said, if we remain professional, then it's hard to misinterpret someone being professional, right? Thanks, Rick.
The other thing is to note that if you feel, if there is an issue, if you feel something like this has happened to you, don't be afraid to let us know. And that means send an email to me and to our Vice President, Jesse Hall, and then we get that to the Ethics Committee. Don't be afraid these things are private, confidential, and they need to be dealt with, because we don't want these things happening to anybody. It's very critical, very important. So please feel free to do that and never fear any kind of retaliation. Any other questions or comments for Kenny? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Kenny.
Diana, can we circle back to a couple of questions that were in the chat during the presentation?
Yeah, I read through them. Guys,
Okay.
we're not the mass police, okay? We are going to handle our masks wearing. That is it. Not the coaches, not the players, just ourselves. I know that's not the answer you want, but that is how it is. We cannot control that stuff. If there is a big concern and you see there's a coach not wearing a mask the entire game, then call me or Marvin and we'll take care of it. And their administrators will take care of it. That's not something we want to get into with coaches, okay? We just can't. Same thing with players. That's not our job. Our job is to adjudicate the game properly, and we cannot be worrying about how long somebody's wearing a mask, okay? They know a coach is not to approach you if they don't have a mask on. That they know. And every AD we've talked to, every coach we've talked to, they have no problem with that, and they understand the importance of it. So yes, thank you, Jerome. We just need to be professional, but we can't be having technicals for not wearing a mask, guys. We're not doing that, because that's what's going to lead up to. So again, we're not the mass police. We take care of our business. We wear them onto the court, off the court, when we approach coaches, players, and the table. If you have a concern, there's a coach just not wearing the mask at all, let me or Marvin know. We will handle it. Yes, Michael, coaches are supposed to wear a mask, but that's not for us to adjudicate. That's their athletic directors that have told them that, not us. That doesn't come from us. That comes from their bosses. So they're the ones that will handle it.
If they're not wearing a mask, stay more than 6 feet away from them.
Correct.
Or you could put the stop sign up and say, hey, coach, put on your mask and I'll talk with you.
Very
And
respectfully.
sometimes it's the heat of the moment, so they may not realize. So we have to help them in that regard.
Correct. Yes, good point, Thomas. They all have game administrators. They all have a principal of an athletic director there somewhere. Guys, I don't think we need to worry about this till it becomes a problem. And if it becomes a problem, again, let me or Marvin know, and we'll take care of it. The player introductions, that's a good question, Rick, about player introductions, no fist bumps. You know, that's something actually that we haven't covered. We'll get clarification on that, but my feeling is that we don't do that. Okay, we're gonna move on to the rules clinic.
Hold on 1 second. There was one other question regarding players or anybody and the anthem at the beginning of the game.
Okay, guys, we talked about this at the last meeting. We talked about this at the Q&A that I had. Only 7 people showed up though for that Q&A. But we cannot legislate people's political views. I know it's hard for some people to hear that, but we cannot mandate that nobody kneel. We're going to suggest and ask that people not, and that we're uniform together on the court. What I will say is that if you have concerns that one of your crew members is going to do that, that you guys have discussions, and maybe you just stay in the locker room till after the anthem's over, and then you go out. But we are not mandating a rule. THSBOA has asked us to not do that. Kenny, you want to elaborate on that again at all?
Yeah, I agree with all that you said. We can't, it's not our role, right? So I think as an organization, we just have discussions with each other. And if that's something that someone wants, we would prefer they not do that. And I think it's only respectful to let your crew know is that something that you have to do. So I would stand outside with you if you were in my crew and wanted to do that. And if I asked you, hey, then let's just not go out there, because we're bringing enough attention to ourselves with our play calling. And I've seen some of our play calling. So let's we get enough fan interaction with our play calls and our rules and mechanics without bringing something else into the game. So I would ask that people not, but I'm not going to tell someone that they can't. And the state board, state president also feels the same way.
Thank you, Kenny. For the meeting at the middle, we have not put limits on that. The thing is that you should wear your mask at the beginning of the game when you go meet with the captains.
Only coaches this year.
Is it only coaches?
Only coaches. We're only meeting with coaches this year, not with players.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I'm sorry about that.
I've been aware of that. So we are not doing meetings, captains meetings before a game anymore this season. We are only meeting with coaches. And Kenny, what's the procedure on that? Can you clarify?
So it's up to the officials, but I would say do like you would do a captain's meeting, or go over close to the table and do it at the table. And then that way everything's done. Remember, we're not shaking hands. Some people are forearm bumping, that's your choice. But if you're not comfortable with that, just keep 8 feet away. And it guarantees that person's not going to fist bump you, right? Or touch your arm. So you have to take responsibility in keeping your safe self as well. All right. Because I think what happens a lot of times is other people get comfortable, right? Because it hasn't happened to them. So you have to take charge of your health in that way. And don't be afraid that you're going to offend someone by taking care of yourself. We need you for the next game.
Good points. Thank you, Kenny. Okay, any others?